The number of Canadians relying on a food bank has more than doubled since this Liberal government took office. Now the Prime Minister says Canadians will have to make even more sacrifices. How many meals will Canadians have to sacrifice for yet another costly Liberal budget?
The clown show continues. Welcome back to Moose and Loose. My name's David. Today we got Doug Ford throwing Mark Carney now under the bus for the whole Ronald Reagan ad situation. A lot of information has come out on this. We've also got new report coming from the food bank that Canada is now hitting record highs in food bank usage. Let's jump into this. We're going to start today's episode off in Argentina. We have Javier Milei won so big in Argentina that his party surged its parliament duties to 172%. So basically they went from 37 up to 101 seats, and senators went from 6 to 20. He comes out of the building like a rock star. This is crazy. This is what happens when you have a guy save a country. He becomes a rock star, essentially. People love this guy because their country is doing much better now. He's cut all the garbage and waste in the government. So apparently the media was saying he wasn't going to win that big, and he did. So great news for Argentina. Maybe we can have this result in Canada. Moving ahead, we got Sandra Cabina posting this one here. Millions gone in a blink. The CRA didn't even notice. Leaked files reveal CRA refunded millions by mistake. Recent reports showed that the CRA issued a whopping $5 million tax refund as part of a fraudulent scheme that slipped through the cracks and was only caught by a bank that raised the red flag. Here's the kicker. The Liberal government is now pushing for even more automatic tax filing. You can't make this stuff up. We wonder why things are so bad in Canada. It's stuff like this. Just more waste, more government waste. People are getting rich, Canadians are suffering. Moving ahead, we've got this one here. 72% of Canadians say pipelines are key to Canada's economic future. People are starting to wake up. Now moving over to this situation with Donald Trump, Mark Carney, Doug Ford, it just keeps evolving here. So now we've got Donald Trump on Air Force One saying that Canada is one of the most difficult countries to deal with. This media backlash is blowing up. Now we got Doug Ford throwing Carney under the bus for this.
On the flight yesterday, you sent out your proposal about the Canada tariffs. Can you walk through when you expect those to take effect? And can I ask why?
No, we're gonna let them know. Ronald Reagan loved tariffs. He used them sparingly, which he probably would make a mistake. He made a mistake in that. And again, I was the biggest fan of Ronald Reagan, but on finance, on trade, it wasn't his strong suit. But he liked tariffs, and they totally changed that to say that he did because they're catering to the Supreme Court, because Canada's been ripping us off for a long time, and they're not going to rip us off anymore. Canada has been ripping us off for a long time.
Why?
One of the most difficult countries to deal with has been Canada. As much as I love Canada itself and the people of Canada, they've just had a lot of bad representatives. They did a fake ad yesterday. They were caught. The Ronald Reagan Foundation was the one that caught him, and it was totally the opposite of what they said. So I don't like that. That's dirty pool, and you can't do that. And let me just tell you, they shouldn't have done it. They've apologized, and they said, we're going to take the ad down. Well, they didn't, but they did it very late. They let it play for another 2 nights, and now they took that ad down. So I don't know when it's going to kick in. We'll see, but I don't really want to discuss it. Let's go.
This is interesting. So him saying it's dirty pool, it is dirty pool. Now he also said they've sent a lot of bad representatives, talking about the Liberals, but then Donald Trump himself said he'd rather deal with a Liberal. So what exactly is going on here? Is this just a clash here and Mark Carney's not willing to negotiate? Are they working together to tank Canada and our economy so Canada is closer to becoming the 51st state? What exactly is going on here?
I just said this is an ad. That was an ad run by a provincial government in Canada. Why are you
I don't care,
federal government?
because whether it's provincial or Canada itself, they all knew exactly what the ad was. The Prime Minister knew, everybody knew. The Prime Minister knew what the ad was before it went on.
Do you see him in APEC? Do you want to meet with him?
I don't want to meet with them. No, I'm not going to be meeting with them for a while. No. I'm very happy with the deal we have right now with Canada. We're going to let it ride.
Well, we have Secretary Benton here.
He's happy with the deal they have with Canada. He's going to let it ride. Thanks, Liberals. What happened to elbows up? I guess that strategy didn't work. This promise fooled so many Canadians into voting Liberals again. What has Carney done since then? Nothing. Yeah, exactly. Now, Mark Carney was asked about this exact moment on Air Force One. What did he have to say?
Have you had any contact with President Trump since Thursday? I have not.
Given that President Trump said today on Air Force One, I don't know if you heard this, but in the last hour, he said he doesn't plan to meet with you for a long time. Is it worth continuing to pursue a discussion, a meeting, a phone call with him at this point?
I didn't see the comment. Look, we stand ready to sit down with the United States, myself with the president, my colleagues with their colleagues, when the U.S. is ready to sit down. We had made considerable progress on a supplement to the trading relationship that we had, considerable progress in the areas of steel, aluminum, and energy, associated areas as well. And as I just said, we're ready to sit down when they are ready to do that. If they're not ready to do that, as those comments indicate, then we were always going to do these things, to be clear. We're going to first and foremost build our economy, build it with generational investments, and you will see that not just the scale of ambition, but the speed with which we put that into effect.
The speed, yeah. These guys have done nothing in 6 months.
In the budget on November 4th, and continue to do what we've been doing over the course of the last few days and over the course of recent months, which is to build those other partnerships and deepen those other partnerships on which we're getting very much traction. Thank you.
Next question, Murray.
It seems Carney does not want to get a deal. So either one of two things are happening. He's helping Donald Trump. They're working on it together to tank Canada's economy. So then we can become the 51st state. Or Donald Trump was playing hardball with Canada because he wanted to get a really good deal. But now he's stuck in this situation where Carney doesn't want to get a deal. He wants to make a deal, but he also wants to make it a good deal. And he doesn't want to capitulate. Carney's not capitulating, so no deal is being done. Donald Trump knows the home building sector in America is getting slammed right now because of his tariffs on lumber coming from Canada that is needed to build those houses. Now, I think they're totally fine with what's happening with the auto sector and that being stirred up and trying to bring the companies over because it's working. $18 billion from Stellantis going into America, biggest investment ever in the auto sector like that. They do want to get rid of some of these tariffs. They know that the forestry's tariffs, they're not helping America right now. It's hurting. And the American people are willing to let this roll as long as they see the benefits. But if they start seeing things go up in price, cars, houses, all of this, eventually they'll revolt. So I'm sure Trump knows he needs to make a deal at some point here, but he's not going to back down to Carney. Carney doesn't want to get a deal. So it's one of the two things here. One thing Donald Trump said is he knew that Carney knew about the ad. That is true. We've got this clip here of Ontario Finance Minister confirming that there was lots of conversations about the tariff ad between Ford and Carney before it was launched.
Ads fall under your ministry. With that government ad that has led to headlines around the world, did you keep the federal government in the loop before going ahead with that ad?
Oh, sure. There's lots of conversations between the Prime Minister and Premier Ford. They have a great relationship. As you heard last Thursday, the Premier reiterate that Premier Ford has 100% confidence in Prime Minister Carney. We're in this together.
Yeah, so they worked on it together. But Doug Ford tells us here that himself as he throws Carney under the bus.
Have you talked to the Prime Minister about this and what's? I mean, he was pretty measured in Malaysia today.
Sure.
About you and about this situation. But have you? How are relations with the Prime Minister? Are things strained now because of what's happened?
Not at all. He saw the ad before I put it out. So did his chief of staff. They both saw it, and we moved forward on it. But again, we achieved our goal. As we say, mission accomplished. It was done. They're talking about it in the U.S., and they weren't talking about it before I put the ad on. So I'm glad that Ronald Reagan was a free trader.
Have you talked to the?
Wow. So blaming it all on Carney now, because he has his ambitions of trying to steal Pierre Poilievre's job as leader of the opposition. He has to deflect this as fast as possible off of him and onto Carney. These guys are both snakes. Orange man bad narrative in full effect. Election incoming. We'll see. We'll see what the NDP does. They don't want to go to an election when they have an interim leader. Because what are they going to do? Have Don Davies run the election, or are they going to just appoint someone else to be leader of the NDP? Both of those are not good options for the NDP. So they're more likely to support Carney and then have this dog and pony show continue for another 4, 5, 6 months. Idiots, why piss off our trading partners? That's a great question. When you're not the big dog, you shouldn't act like the big dog. You should recognize you're the little dog and play nicely. Moving over to CTV Windsor, Pierre Poilievre asked about this situation. He handles this masterfully because if he criticizes Doug Ford for running the ad, he'll push away voters in Ontario that support Doug Ford. There's a real fine line here he has to walk, and he nails this.
And you're talking about Ford kind of stepping in. He did respond to Trump's comments today, saying, you know, Canada and the United States are friends, neighbors, allies. President Ronald Reagan knew that we are stronger together. God bless Canada. God bless the United States. You kind of mentioned it, but my question is, what role should provinces and territories play in shaping trade negotiations? Did Ford go too far in this case?
I think that what's happening is that premiers are filling the void that Mark Carney has left. I mean, he's broken every single promise he made about trade. Remember, he said, you know, ignore 10 years of liberal housing crisis, the liberal crime crisis, liberal immigration crisis, the liberal cost of living crisis, and vote for me because I'm the only one who can, and I quote, handle Donald Trump. And here we are 7 months later, and he hasn't handled Trump. He's backed down again and again. American tariffs on Canadian industry have doubled since Mark Carney promised to eliminate those tariffs. So I think the responsibility rests with the national government and its head, and that's the Prime Minister. And Mark Carney has broken his promise. It has been a liberal bait and switch, and Canadian workers are paying the price.
As you said, this
is such a good response. He just nailed that. So just looking in the comments here, this is funny. I scroll down, you know, see some comments here, some people complaining about Pierre or whatever. There's always somebody. And right away, somebody Moose chart. Check out Moose on the Loose. You guys are amazing. Paid by cons. Yeah, right. I've never received $1 from the Conservatives. I've never received $1 from any political party. The only money I get is from YouTube and Canadians donating to me. So moving back over to Doug Ford, he thinks it's a good idea what David Eby's doing, wanting to run his own ad.
My champion, Wob Canoe. He's 100% behind it. Another champion, Premier Eby as well. So these are the premiers, total different political stripes than I am, but we're all sticking together. And I went right across the country and spoke to every single premier.
Daniel Smith doesn't like the ads, though.
Well, sure enough. Yeah, well, of course.
Yeah, because Daniel Smith has common sense. Like, let's get real here.
Daniel Smith doesn't like the ads because she's not getting her auto annihilated, her manufacturing, her steel, her life science sector. She has a commodity called oil that the Americans need and want. So she's going to be...
Yeah, but it's being restricted where it can flow. Come on, Doug. David Eby's blocking prosperity of not only Alberta, but the rest of Canada. This clown show in Canada is crazy.
Fine. Ontario won't be fine if we sign a lousy deal. I'd rather have no deal than a terrible deal that will cost jobs here in Ontario.
Well, currently it's costing sectors at this point. The auto sector is going to disappear in the next 5 to 10 years. It'll be gone at this rate. The forestry industry is an interesting one because America needs our wood. Despite Trump saying that they can cut down their national forests or whatever, he'll get massive backlash if he starts cutting swaths of national forest that is protected under U.S. law. If he wants to see huge protests, that would do it. And he knows that. It's easier just to buy Canadian lumber. But the auto industry, that doesn't have to exist in Canada. They can wipe that out. Now we're bouncing back to Mark Carney here. We've got Mr. Bench posting this one. Wow, listen to these trade deals Mark Carney secured in a year. All these deals, which are not real deals. AI deal was not, it was just a paper deal. Grip and grin, nothing more. European Union, broader trade, nothing coming from that. Critical mineral deal, grip and grin. Same thing with Agri-Food Mexico, grip and grin. They're all grip and grin, nothing else. They're phony baloney, letters of intent. They're not actual deals. Like Laos, nothing. He met with the leader of Laos. Good for you. No sale of our oil, LNG, or prairie farm goods. No, although he has been mentioning over there in Asia about LNG a lot, but only if it works with his carbon credit system. We're moving over to the house here. Pierre Poilievre giving us the lowdown on what is happening with Canada's food banks here, because we are hitting record numbers. It is disgraceful.
Released its report today, Hunger Count 2025, showing the number of Canadians relying on a food bank has more than doubled since this Liberal government took office. It shows that 39% of the population experienced food insecurity, 82% did not have enough to eat, 34% went an entire day without eating. 53% missed a meal to afford something else. 28% went hungry at least once a week. Now the Prime Minister says Canadians will have to make even more sacrifices. How many meals will Canadians have to sacrifice for yet another costly Liberal budget?
Mr. Speaker, the Leader of the Opposition is good at throwing all of this stuff out. What he's not good at is reading what the groups on the ground actually have to say. Of course there are too many people living in poverty in Canada, but there are significant initiatives being put in place by this government, opposed by this Leader of the Opposition and his party, systematically evoked in the report from Food Banks Canada today, Mr. Speaker. We support these key assistance programs for Canadians. He votes against them and then dares to get up and criticize us for putting in place support for the weakest Canadians.
So what McKinnon does here with this whole charade, angry face pointing, this is a dirty tactic when you're lying about something. Sometimes people will get quiet. Some people get really shifty and start looking around. They look down, don't want to look someone in the eye. But some people like him, they increase their volume, increase their tone. They start pointing at, become accusatory. It's a commanding position to hide a lie. They know full well that they're the ones who caused this problem, but he's trying to deflect it on Pierre Poilievre. It's disgraceful what these guys have done. These liberals, most of them were there for the Trudeau era. They all voted for all this crap that destroyed our country. They should be held accountable for their sins against us.
Mr. Speaker, their programs do not feed kids. They feed bureaucracy, consultants, lobbyists, and liberal insiders. And if you want to question that, 700,000 kids are lined up at food banks every single month. And let me quote from the report. It took decades to reach 1 million visits in any month, and it has now taken half a decade to more than double that. These are not outliers. This is Canada's new normal. The more government spends, the more things cost. How many meals will Canadian kids have to sacrifice for yet another costly Liberal budget?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In fact, Canada's largest food bank in Toronto, the Daily Bread Food Bank, is asking that the National School Food Program be made permanent through legislation. And we are delivering this. They're asking because the program helps provide nutritious meals to 400,000 children at school.
This is not the way to solve this. The solve this is for every family to be able to afford to pay for food for their children. This is deplorable. Schools should not be feeding kids. Sure, we can have this program for a couple kids who slip through the cracks. Maybe they're homeless, they go to school, they don't have family, whatever it may be. But to further prop up this program is just a band-aid on the wound. This is not solving the core problem. Cut the taxes, get rid of all this mumbo-jumbo eco-green stuff, carbon credits, EV mandates, all of this nonsense. Stop sending all of our money over to gender-sensitive farming in Uganda. Or as I mentioned earlier, $5 million just poof vanished from the CRA. This government is so wasteful. It is outrageous. So let's jump over to CTV. They have the actual report on how bad this is with food banks.
Some other news this morning. A concerning new report from Food Banks Canada says increased levels of poverty and hunger are becoming normalized in this country. Food bank visits continue to rise across Canada, reaching nearly 2.2 monthly visits. That's double the number from 2019. CTV's Scott Hurst is on that story for us this morning, and he is with me now. Scott, this is a really concerning report that is showing no signs of things changing direction.
Marcia, some staggering numbers coming from this latest Food Banks Canada report. It shows visits to food banks continuing to increase, and that is a significant increase over last year, up 5% from just last year. But as you mentioned, doubling since 2019, and that includes every single province and territory seeing soaring demand over the last several years. No region has been spared. And as you mentioned,
you hear that, no region being spared. This is across the country. It's not a regional thing in one area or whatever. It's the entire country. Thus, it's the federal government's fault. It's Justin Trudeau, the Liberals, and now many of those same Liberals, most of them still there under Mark Carney. Mark Carney was the financial advisor to Justin Trudeau for 5 years. It's the Liberals' fault.
The report points out that poverty and hunger are ultimately being normalized in Canada, and that the food bank system is no longer sustainable in the way it was meant to operate for a last resort, not a primary source of food and nutrition for millions of Canadians. So here are some of the sobering numbers and statistics. Monthly visits to food banks have doubled since 2019, almost 2.2 million visits in March 2025 alone. And as I mentioned, every single province and territory is seeing a significant increase in demand, as well as 1 in 5 food bank clients who are employed have.
You see that 1 in 5 people who are employed go to the food bank because life is too expensive. While this is shocking, I'm not surprised. Look at the cost of food in the grocery store. It's crazy. Before I started this channel, my other channel was deleted. I stopped eating produce. I was only eating stuff from the dollar store because that is by far the cheapest way to eat. Then I started to get sick because I was eating too much canned food. There's a lining in those cans, and those toxicity can build up in your body. So even if you're eating canned beans, which should be fine, after months I was getting pretty sick and I had to do a complete detox, drinking this awful barley grass juice to get this stuff out of me. Canadians don't have options here when food is expensive. Look at this, 2.2 million monthly visits. The real sad thing about all of this too, it's the Laurentian elites that keep voting for the Liberals. These are people that are very affluent and very rich. They don't give a crap about any of this. They don't care about the rest of Canada. These arrogant, smug Laurentian elites are the types to always vote Liberal. It doesn't matter how bad things are.
Have a stable income, yet after covering everything else, all the other bills in terms of living expenses are still falling short when it comes to what's needed to put food on the table.
And they didn't mention here, 33% of food bank users are children. 70% of food bank users live in market rent housing. How bad do things have to get before the swing voters wake up and vote for the Conservatives? Because those Laurentian elites, they're not going to change. We need the swing voters to fix the problem here. Look at this, get your clearance. These are the Laurentian elites, just complete brain dead morons who keep saying stuff like this. They get programmed by CBC and they can't think for themselves. One thing's for certain, if you want to be angry, read the comments on X. I try to stay away from it. Pierre Poilievre strikes me as Canada's version of Mike Johnson. Every bit as swarmy, every bit as deceitful, every bit as condescending. Like, it's unbelievable how many times I stuff this factual information of Mark Carney ripping off Canadians to these people and they don't care.